Welcome to Talk Birdie. This is Australia's most popular golf podcast, with former world number 16 Nick O'Hearn, the only player to beat Tiger Woods twice in match play, and tour pro Mark Allen, who played professional golf around the world for 15 years, including a British Open. We're coming from our studio at Titleist and FootJoy headquarters. Titleist is the number one ball in golf, and FootJoy is the number one shoe and glove in golf. And thanks to our great partners, Watch My Numbers, the most powerful database golf app in the world. Download from the App Store or Google Play. Ping, as with Nick O'Hearn, will help you play your best. See your local golf shop or professional for a Ping Club fitting. The Golf Clearance Outlet beat everyone's prices. Visit golfclearanceoutlet.com.au for your nearest store. And Better, the fastest and easiest betting app in Australia. Now that's better. Now, from our studio at Titleist and FootJoy headquarters, it's time for Talk Birdie to me. Here's Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen.
That's staying in. Don't do that to me. Welcome, folks, to Titleist FootJoy headquarters, and we've got another feedback podcast ready to go. Dan, over to you.
All right, we've got a lot of feedback to get through, so we'll smack through some of this. G'day, Nick and Mark. I want to this is from Nick Roach, by the way. G'day, Nick and Mark. I'd like to touch base regarding Cameron Smith. This guy is a shadow of the golfer we watched win the British Open in 2022 and rise to the second-ranked golfer in the world. He'd be lucky now to be in the top 30 or 40 players in the world, I reckon. I understand the money he got going to the Live Tour was very hard to knock back, but it's disappointing to watch a guy who I think could have won multiple majors now look like another standard professional golfer playing out his career on the Live Tour and not challenging in majors. And I'm very keen to get your thoughts on this.
Well, Nick, you played in many more majors than I. Tell us about the step up in everything that we know about golf, from a regular tour event to one of the biggies.
Yeah, you like to think as though you're treating it the same, but it never is. The intensity, the buzz around every major that you play is just at a next level, and the best players in the world handle that better than obviously the regular tour pros, the journeymen. But it's a funny one with Cam. I mean, when he first went, I was a little surprised he did, given he just won the British Open. He had the chance to become, I thought, Australia's best golfer ever. The money, though, obviously hard to turn back as we say. But I think this year is going to be a very interesting test for him. I know when he came down to Australia a couple of years ago and he missed the cut at the Australian PGA, he actually said, look, I haven't really been working that hard. So maybe he's realised, okay, I've got to get things going again. His results this season in Live haven't been stellar, unfortunately. He sort of seems to be finishing middle of the field, and in a 50-man field or 54-man field, that's not great.
No.
So I think come the Masters and then the PGA and so on, if he doesn't have a good year in the majors, well then there's some rethinking to do, I believe.
Well, look, when he played in the New South Wales Open, he played 4 or 5 events here in Australia before Chrissy. I felt like he was working on stuff in his game as well.
He looked as though he was working hard.
Yeah, it looked like he was working on technique issues, or at least maybe not issues, but certainly things he wanted to incorporate into his golf game. That is usually best done in a trial period where you're playing at some really high-level golf. So you get used to those little feels, because even though the New South Wales Open was an $800,000 event, it just doesn't do the same as what a Players Championship or the Masters or the US Open. It's not even close, folks. It's not even. It would be like if you haven't done much public speaking, to speak in front of your class versus speak in front of 20,000 people at the MCG or something like that. The step up is enormous, and you have to get these swing changes kind of in that same sort of feel. So when you're public speaking in front of 20,000, you know it's going to work.
Yeah, it's just going to come out as per normal.
That's the best way I can explain it.
Yeah.
There's no other way I can kind of explain what goes on unless you actually feel what your golf swing feels like under those anxiety situations.
Yeah, and we know Live Golf is a different beast. It's 54 holes shotgun, completely different to the regular 4 rounds.
Music in the background.
Yeah, exactly. So time will tell as to whether it was the right decision for him. He's obviously very happy. I think
I would have taken the money too. You can't blame him for taking that amount of money. You just can't.
No.
Generational.
Can't.
Message from Joseph. Joseph's our greenkeeper mate in Aotearoa in New Zealand. Hey guys, I'm wondering about your thoughts on rangefinders at club level. As a greenkeeper, having to wait sometimes for golfers to use them, I would ban them. There's one woman here who is quite good and she uses one for every single shot tee to green while she's standing on par 4 and 5 tees and while she's on the surrounding cut a couple of metres from the green. It makes people play slower. I think they are a time waster. I would like to hear your thoughts. Cheers, Joe.
I think I love my rangefinder, but I think if you are using your rangefinder from the fringe of the green, you've got some issues.
There are some issues.
You've got some issues.
I think within 50 metres of the green, to be honest.
You've got some issues.
I'd love for them to go. I'm more of a see it, feel it type player, eyeball everything, but I understand why people use them. For me, funnily enough, when we played Victoria Golf Club the other day,
you eyeballed all day.
I struggle to eyeball there because the small flags, everything looks further away. So it's a bit of depth perception.
Small pins, smaller pins.
Yeah, exactly.
The flags were the same size, but the pin was a little bit different. So they had 6 foot pins, and we used to 7 and 8 foot pins.
Yeah, 7 and normally 8 or 9. Yeah, exactly. So. They do slow play down a little bit, but if your pre-shot routine is fast, well, then it shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, that's right.
This is probably one for you, Mark. It's for both of you, but the last little part I think is for you, Mark. G'day, Nick and Mark. Firstly, love the pod. I've only found it recently, and I now listen every week.
Hey,
this is from Jim, by the way.
Jimbo.
And I've seen a couple of the YouTube episodes. Great work. I was listening last week to your segment on possible Australian Open venues. You mentioned some great courses in Sydney, but not New South Wales, and I was wondering why. Secondly, I hope Rakepod is a YouTube episode with helpful diagrams and images on the screen, maybe a top 5 with images of your top 5 rakes.
With the interest in Rakepod, I'm talking big backing where McDonald's and Coca-Cola are going to be stepping in. It is going to be enormous. Well, that's how big Rakepod is going to be.
It should be Bunnings or something. Right?
Coles, the whole, the Chemist Warehouse, a lot of them. They're all coming in. No, we're happy with Titleist and we're happy with the golf clearance outlet, so don't worry, guys.
So why didn't you mention New South Wales?
We didn't mention New South Wales because when the internationals come from a long way away, they want to stay in Sydney. And they want to look at that Sydney Harbour Bridge and the Sydney Opera House, and they want all the best things in life for coming this trip down. We actually spoke about it in the pod earlier in the week that when players come all the way down to Melbourne, when the Australian Open was at Moona Links, and it was there, I think, 2001 and 2003, best guess. The internationals didn't like staying in Rye. They all wanted to stay in town. There was nobody at the tournament. There was no one there. I mean, I played in all 4 rounds in the first one that was there, and it felt like I was playing with my mates on a Sunday down in the Mornington Peninsula. It was anything but an Australian Open, and you just can't have that.
You're talking New South Wales Golf Club, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
New South Wales Golf Club.
Yeah,
I thought he meant the state of New South Wales.
No, I think he was talking about New South Wales Golf Club. You can stay in Sydney for that. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. Change the subject. So New South Wales Golf Club, absolutely. Yeah. The only issue was there was no practice range.
Yeah. But they've changed it now. They've updated the range and everything. I think you might only be able to hit irons there. I can't remember last time I was there. But logistically, it's a little trouble getting in and out as well because, it's almost like you're some of those British Opens where you got to go into a small town. It's a pretty narrow road, winding. Getting people on site would be a little difficult. Yeah, that's probably one of the reasons. But I'd love to see it go back there.
Yeah, well, we used to have Australian PGAs there. I played in quite a few Australian PGAs that were at New South Wales Golf Club. It was a wonderful venue, and it was just right. There weren't quite the crowds that the Australian Open was generating back in those days. But yeah, New South Wales. The only reason was getting in, no driving range. And also it was hard for people like the 15th hole. Now they may well have changed the 15th hole. You know that drive where you got tea tree on both sides up over the hill. Yeah. Where do the people go? I mean, you literally had to walk back in the day. You had to walk single file to get through the fairway almost back in the day. I'm sure that's changed. I haven't played New South Wales for a long time.
Come to think of it, I think what happened with why there was no range was because they put the corporates there. The corporate tents, and you need a tented village for the spectators and that. So there's no other room to do it.
I remember I played in a couple of Australian PGAs there where we were ferried to a
School or
rugby
something.
ground.
Yeah, that's
and we
right.
were hitting
I remember that.
hitting through the goals.
Off the paddock.
So, if you want the Australian Open to be a world-class event, which we all do, it might just the ins and outs of big tournament play might be missing.
We've got plenty more comments and feedback, including a question about that Titleist mini driver that you perhaps prematurely showed last week.
I'll grab it. Out of one of the bags.
Well, someone's got a question about that, so we might go to the turn, and I'll hit you with that after this.
See you on the 10th.
All right.
Looks good, man. Dude. Are we in slow motion, too?
We're live from our studio at Titleist and FootJoy headquarters. We all know the number one ball in golf is Titleist and the number one shoe and glove in golf is FootJoy. We're here thanks to the Golf Clearance Outlet. They beat everyone's prices. Ping will always help you play your best. Turn your bogeys into birdies with the Watch My Numbers app, and Better, the fastest and easiest betting app in Australia. That's Better. Now, back to Talk Birdie-Tome. Here's Nick and Mark.
Okay, Dan, I've got my mini driver all set to go, the GT 280cc. Is that where we're going to start, or what are you going to do to us?
Well, I wasn't going to start there, but we can if you want.
Yeah, come on, let's go.
Okay, all right, hang on, let me find that one. Here we go. All right, this is from James Byrne. James has said, love the show. Marco, I've been looking forward to getting a Titleist mini driver since they started using these on tour last year. I'm a member at Royal Gisborne, and I reckon it would be perfect on some of the tighter holes. Is there any chance you could press the Titleist guys over there about a release date? Also, since they've got one at HQ, can I get fitted in anticipation for when they get released? Oh, cheeky. Cheers, James.
Okay, yeah, well, I'm not sure they're in the fitting trucks just at the moment, but look, I ran upstairs a little while ago, and Brucey Peacock, thank you, Brucey boy, he's the national brand manager. He has confirmed that in shop will be April 18 around the country. Titleist fitting partners will have the capability to fit after April 4. Or alternatively, a golfer can make a booking to be fit at our National Fitting Centre at Spring Valley Golf Club by visiting titleist.com.au.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, and look, if you're wondering how they look too, my God, it looks so beautiful. And we've spoken about this before. It's 280cc. You think the perfect driver...
well, it's around that. No more than 300.
300, I think, would be absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Would be perfect.
It kind of looks like an oversized 3-wood at the moment.
It kind of reminds me of the Titleist driver. Can you get it, Dan? Yeah, wicked in there. There we go. It kind of reminds me of the Titleist driver shape that Tiger was using when he had the steel shafted Titleist version, when he won the Tiger Slam. He had the X100 pushed through, he had the bore through shaft. It's the same size as that, but it's got 13 degrees. So that's why you see players like Ricky Fowler hitting it off the deck at the 9th at the Players' Championship over 300 yards and knocking it on the green, all that kind of stuff. It's a beautiful little club. It's a beauty.
Very nice.
Okay.
I'm not sure they make one left-handed for you, though, Nick.
Well, it need to be a ping one for me. So.
Yeah, no, it absolutely would be. The message here from Andrew. I would love to see Nick talk more about the mental game. Your book was excellent, and you seem to understand and be able to articulate golf very, very well.
Well, thank you, Andrew. Funny you should say that. I've got some videos coming out soon. I'm going to give it a plug, actually. Some videos about how to play golf, and a lot of those are around the mental game and strategy and thinking your way around the golf course. So look out for those maybe late April, early May.
Yeah.
They'll be coming out. But, the mental side of the game, so important. And that is what separates the great players from the good and the good from the average and the average from the bad and so on and so forth. So out on the golf course, most bad shots come around because you're not thinking well. Not so much the golf swing.
It's funny, I get auctioned off from time to time to raise charity money, and I do an 18-hole playing lesson. And it's always about how to think
Yeah.
You know, it always is. Quite often there'll be a little bit of technique, maybe in the bunkers, maybe in the chipping. I hardly ever touch anybody's swing unless it's something completely obvious that I can fix like that and sound like a hero.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? When it's
And
the
you know
really
what you do
obvious
there
one.
is you do that late in the round, not early. That's the trick.
But it's always about how to think before you hit, where to have your practice swing. It's those little things that you write about in your books that just seem to, you know, there is swinging a golf club and then there is playing the great game of golf.
Yeah.
And they're quite often two totally different things.
Absolutely.
Message from Randsurfer. Randsurfer said, Karl's dad, this is Karl Vilips, Karl's dad's dedication to his son is second to none, and I admire it greatly. Single parent, going it alone, giving Karl every opportunity he could muster within his means. It's also worth noting, for many years, particularly his formative years, Karl's dad was his only swing coach, and Karl's fundamentals remain basically unchanged. If you watch his YouTube channel over the years, it's very obvious his dad knows golf, knows the golf swing, and really knows Karl's game.
Well, I can't remember what he swung like when he was a kid. I kind of forgot about it because quite often when kids swing the club when they're 7 and 8 years old, the clubs are actually just too heavy for them. But, you know, these days, the opportunity to get clubs with a very small group, you know, when you remember, there's my hand there, when you've got a little kid and they put their hand up against your hand, it's half the size.
It is.
And that's the real battle with these little kids is getting grips that are half the size of adult clubs so they can learn to grip the club properly. It's very, very important. But Karl had all that gear. Well done. It's a wonderful story. And we've got to get him on this podcast, Dan.
Well, we do.
I'll chase it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll chase it up. And we'll just do get him to call in on WhatsApp. He won't be in the studio, but he'll be right there. You know, just like AFL 360 and NRL 360 and those shows do, Dan. Have we got the technology or not?
What are you looking at me for? You know the guy. You got his phone number.
Because
Call
you're
him.
standing next to all the buttons. That's why. You should be
Jeez.
able to do it. I don't know whether we can do
Seriously.
it or not.
Yeah, but God, you're out of control today, Mark. Ads has said about the Open date.
Yes.
This has to be the number one priority for GA, the most prestigious tournament for golf in Australia. Must have dates locked in 5 years out and with large purses. If they can't market the game to attract world sponsors, they are not doing their job.
I'd love to see them lock in venues. That'd be
5
nice.
years out?
5 years out.
Absolutely.
Dates are a little tricky because schedules always change, so that's going to be a bit tough. But venues, what did you say the other day? The Walker Cup is being played at Pine Valley 2044.
2044. They've already named their venue.
So I'd love to know for the next until 2030 where the Australian Open is going to be.
Yeah, well, look, the funny thing is about that, you know, COVID did get in the way.
Yeah.
And once they went to the male and females, and you know, kind of only certain venues could do it, really. We needed 2 golf courses. So, you know, I know that some of the New South Wales courses didn't want any part of it, so it became a Melbourne thing. And I don't think the Australian Open should be a Melbourne thing. But I think there should, you know, as long as the PGA is going to be in Queensland, which I think is a wonderful home, a superb home for the Australian PGA, then you do have the opportunity to move it around. And I know golf clubs would love to know that they're holding the Australian Open in 2029, 2030.
It'd be brilliant for the members too.
Yeah.
Gearing up for it.
Yeah.
So
So look, in a perfect world, the only announcement right now in March after a February Australian Open would be the location of the 2030 Australian Open. That'd be great.
He almost went Elvis on us there. He was going to say February, March.
Almost. But, you know, as it stands at the moment, we don't know where the 2025 Australian Opens, plural, are. We've got no idea.
Question for you here, Nick. This comes from Heath at the Warrigal Country Club. I think we spoke to Heath maybe a couple of months ago.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yep.
About their junior program, which is fantastic. So I'm going from memory, I could be wrong. Heath has said, just listening to your top 5, Nick, on putters, your top 5 plus GST, that's very funny, on putters with a glove. And I'm wondering if Jesper Parnevik was coming in at number 7.
Ooh. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I forgot about Jesper. And as it turned out, Aaron Rye, I was watching him at the Players, doesn't putt with a glove on. So Tommy Gainey, so it really only was a top 5. It wasn't a top 6.
We
It
got some
wasn't plus
GST now.
Okay,
we got some
well,
GST now.
throw Jesper in there.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Absolutely. Throw him in there. Thanks, Heath.
I think you should do a top 6 every week and just be bugging.
Yeah, true.
When it's my turn, I'll do top 5s, and you stick to top 6s.
I will.
All right,
I will.
You stick
I
to
like it.
You're a
That'll be
rule
my
breaker.
thing.
A rule breaking.
Oh, yeah, always.
While we're talking you, Nick, this one comes from Ben. Thanks for the shout out. We mentioned Ben a couple of weeks ago. Thanks for the shout out. And thank you, Nick, for giving me a read and holding the flag for me on the second at Vic Golf Club last November at Emajin Golf Day. I drained the putt for my first ever back-to-back birdie, and I got the fist bump. I assume that means from you.
I remember that, yeah.
Do you?
I gave a read to every player on that green, and they all held a putt. Maybe except me, I don't know. No, it was a lot of fun.
It was a good effort.
And,
It's good effort to they get the read right every single time.
Well, and the Victoria greens are pretty tricky, but fortunately I'd seen a couple of putts there previously. But it was a fun day, that Emajin Golf Day.
Well, Ben went on to say that first ever back-to-back birdie and the fist bump from Nick is my golf highlight. You are a legend.
There you go. Right,
Brilliant.
Well, forget about beating Tiger twice in match play. The fact you gave him a good read makes you a legend.
Well, he obviously didn't birdie the third, otherwise he said he would have made 3 in a row.
Now, speaking of legends, and I use the term loosely.
Yeah, good.
This is from Graham, who listens in Great Britain.
Hey.
I listen every week from Great Britain, and I love this podcast. Mark Allen is a broadcasting legend. I listened to his first podcast 10 years ago, The Clubhouse. What was The Clubhouse?
The Clubhouse was a little show that went through SEN on a Sunday morning.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Any good?
Yeah, of course, it was world class.
Okay.
I had two. I had, they were radio shows, really. So I had Chasing Birdies at SEN that went for 14 years, the longest ever golf show on radio.
Yeah.
Chasing Birdies, and then I got the sack. And to double up, because Chasing Birdies was so popular, we had a little show called The Clubhouse on, which was great fun as well.
Oh, very nice. Anyway, Mark is a broadcasting legend. I listened to the podcast 10 years ago, The Clubhouse, yada, yada, yada. I had just gotten into golf back then, and I learnt so much from Marco, from teaching us about 43-inch driver shafts, and I can't forget your legendary, it's all in the hips. Marco, you have a fantastic golfing brain, and it's hilarious to listen to. I'm loving the pod. Nick, you're a breath of fresh air. I was saddened to hear, Marco, you battling cancer a few years ago. But I'm genuinely happy you made it through and you look fit and strong. I wish you both plenty of success.
Thank you.
Definitely the best golf podcast in the world. And I want to visit Australia one day and play all these amazing courses you always talk about.
Well, when you get down here,
Let
I'll tell you
us
what, I'll get you out to Kingston Heath. How about that? There's a promise for you. There you go. There you got one ticked off. You'll have to get to the others by yourself.
I reckon on that note, we might call it a pod and wrap it up.
Good on you. Thank you, Dan. Thanks, folks. Again, from Titleist FootJoy headquarters. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
And that's been Talk Birdie, Australia's most popular golf podcast with Nick O'Hearn and Mark Allen, coming from our studio at Titleist and FootJoy headquarters. As everyone knows, Titleist is the #1 ball in golf, and FootJoy the #1 shoe and glove in golf. Wherever you get your podcasts, make sure to subscribe, maybe leave a review, and we'd love you to share the pod with a friend who loves their golf. Huge thanks to our fantastic partners. Ping, like they do for Nick O'Hearn, will help you play your best. You can see your local golf shop or professional for a Ping Club fitting. The Golf Clearance Outlet always beat everyone's prices. Visit golfclearanceoutlet.com.au for your nearest store. Watch My Numbers is the most powerful data-based golf app in the world. You can download from the App Store or Google Play. And better, they've got the fastest and easiest betting app in Australia. Download from the App Stores today. Now that's better. Keep in mind, what are you really gambling with? But for now, from our studio at Titleist and FootJoy headquarters, thanks for being a part of the show. We'll see you next time.
How does the best get better? With more speed off the tee. More control with your irons. More spin with your wedges. Introducing the all-new Pro V1 and Pro V1X.